When you first think about it, coming up with a connection between Paula Deen, or any chef for that matter, and yourself as a teacher may seem like a nearly impossible task. Now, when you start to try to come up with a connection between you and a chef, you may start thinking, I could never be anything like a chef. I would burn my cereal in the morning if it were possible. So, you could be one of those poor people who ends up burning their cereal in the morning and being that person that no one in your house ever wants you to go near the kitchen because they're afraid of what will happen. Or you could, work for a catering business on the weekend and make these wonderful meals for people. But either way, if you have an interest in cooking or not, what you do in your classroom as a teacher is very, very similar to what a chef does in the kitchen. So throughout this video, we're going to be looking at some of the similarities between teachers and chefs and kitchens and classrooms, and we're going to see exactly how those things are alike. To start with a really simple similarity between the two, teachers and chefs both use recipes for success to create the best product possible and to help their students and their recipe, or their food, be the best that it can be. Chefs use recipes, and teachers use lesson plans. With these recipes for success, teachers are trying to better something. They're each trying to better something different, but they each have a goal at the end of the day. A chef's goal is to create wonderful, nutritious food with the recipes that they have. And a teacher's goal is to create lesson plans that will connect with their students and stick with them as long as possible. Unless, of course, you're a teacher like Ben Stein in this next clip from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then I'm pretty sure your objective or your goal is just to bore your students to death.
Passed the, anyone? A tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered, raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it?
There are definitely some similarities between experienced and inexperienced chefs and teachers. Inexperienced chefs and teachers both rely on recipes for success in what they do. If you watch a new teacher teaching a lesson, she probably has her lesson plan nearby and follows it word for word. A new chef will do the same. The recipe for what they're doing will be right next to them, and they're not likely to stray from it. This can be a good thing for new chefs and teachers, though, because if they don't have a plan, their classroom or kitchen could end up looking like this.
Spearing the horn, the book, waiting the flap and jack and hooking. Spearing the horn, this word about the booking. He's spearing the board there. There's the board there, horn, spearing, horn, there, this flip. There. There's scoring the hair, the flip flop and the jack and the jack and the jack and that. There's scoring the horn, steer, there, boy, steer, rip. Spearing horn, they're stupid on the roof. And scoring there, and burning, they're spearing the horn. They're steering the hook and they're going to spear. And the flip jack and the boot. There's the spear. Here in the fork, up there, the bird. They get the blue in the bush, and there's pouring the bird, the bird.
Relying solely on the recipe or lesson plan for a teacher or chef can also be harmful to that person. Sometimes if they're so focused on what the lesson plan says or what the recipe says, they can become disconnected from what they're doing and not actually take into account the needs of the specific recipe that they're preparing or their students at the time. But with time and experience, teachers and chefs become more comfortable stepping away from that plan that they have and taking risks because of this particular needs that their students or that their meal that they're preparing needs at that time. So in order to take these risks, teachers and chefs like I said, they need experience, and they also need to be comfortable enough with themselves and who they are in their profession. This actually relates to something that Hildegard Fröhlich talks about in her book, Sociology for Music Teachers. Part of the book focuses on something called occupational identity. And the term occupational identity refers to how people see themselves in their profession, occupation, how they view how they work with others and how they do what they do. So once teachers have developed this strong occupational identity, it's easier for them to take risks and go different places with their recipes or with the lessons that they're teaching. They're able to feel comfortable enough with themselves to add in a little bit of their personality, add that extra spice that's not really in there because they like it, or, you know, go off on a tangent with a student because that's where they needed to go at that time. And so it's developing that occupational identity is really good for being able to take these risks. In these next two clips, you will see that the chef and the teacher are experienced and both have developed some kind of occupational identity. The first clip, you will see that Julia Child is not using a recipe to prepare her omelets. This shows that she's comfortable enough with what she's doing to know exactly what needs to happen. She knows every ingredient that she's supposed to have, and she probably later in the episode will add in something that she likes that maybe not be on a recipe that someone else made up, because she's comfortable enough with what she does in her occupation, what she loves doing. The next clip is of Robin Williams in the Dead Poets Society teaching a group of boys from a prep school. In order to teach his lesson and talk to his students in the way that he talks to them in this next clip, Robin Williams, the teacher in this situation, needs to have a very strong occupational identity, and they need to know a lot about themselves and what they believe to be true and how they see things. And they also need to know about their students and where the students are coming from.
And we're even going to have a dining room party with omelets. All you need to make an omelet is a hot fire, and you need a bowl, and you need some butter, some salt and pepper, and some eggs.
The world is their oyster. They believe they're destined for great things, just like many of you. Their eyes are full of hope, just like you. Did they wait until it was too late to make from their lives even one iota of what they were capable? Because you see, gentlemen, these boys are now fertilizing daffodils. But if you listen real close, you can hear them whisper their legacy to you. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary.
Teachers and chefs both mix their passions to create a change. They learn about themselves and others through what they do, and they're constantly challenging the way their students think and the way their consumers taste. These people both change lives, whether it's through a great learning experience or through a great meal. They do what they do with all of their hearts and share this passion with those around them.